My name is Oki Sato, and I'm the founder of Nendo. We're here at the National Gallery of Victoria in Melbourne for the exhibition Escher and Nendo, Between Two Worlds. So it's a collaboration exhibition between Nendo and MC Escher, and we're showing 157 pieces of Escher together with space and objects designed by Nendo. Well, MC Escher is a Dutch graphic artist who's well known for his optical illusion artworks from a very mathematical approach. I feel that every designer or every artist has his own toolbox. He has his set of tools, and he would sometimes mix them or flip the direction of the tools. He would play with the tools to create his objects. And it wasn't that we used our own tools, but we borrowed Escher's tools as well, and we sort of mixed them together, which was a very interesting process. The first piece that I wanted to show in the exhibition was the single hand. It was a drawing of a hand. It's a very basic sketch. The final piece that I wanted to show was the two hands drawing each other in a way. You're starting from the possible and you're ending at the impossible, representing the theme, which is between two worlds. After doing a lot of research, we noticed that Escher's way of creating things, it's almost like a computer program. He comes up with a certain formula, and then he starts adding different factors to that. And then he waits and he sees what happens. And if it works, it becomes a great artwork. If it doesn't, he has to go back to day one, and then he has to start with the formula again.
We are here today at San Simpliciano. I'm presenting the new collection called 50 Manga Chairs. Actually, when I was a very small child, I liked reading manga books all day, and my parents would be really angry at me. But if I would go to museums or galleries, my parents would be happy. And I was thinking, what is the difference between going to museums or reading manga? And that was always in my mind for a long time. And quite recently, I did a little bit of research about manga comics, and I noticed that it's part of the Japanese culture. It's been here for a long, long time. And I started thinking, can we convert these techniques that is used for manga into objects and furniture? And so that's how we came up with these 50 chairs. These chairs are made in stainless steel, and they're all hand polished in Japan. Actually, it took about 4 months to do the hand polishing. We started with a single chair, which is in the middle, which has no character at all. It has no emotions or feelings or movement. It's just a chair. And then we started working on the 50 chairs. So that is an interesting point, that there's one normal chair in there.
At Super Design Show during Milan Design
Computer program, and it's very different, I guess. It's very unique. And that process was the starting point for Nendo as well. We came up with certain rules, and those rules would control the entire design process. There's no flexibility in between. That made it very interesting, and some of the rules were like, we did not use any color in the space. We just stick to black and white and a little bit of gray in between. So it represents light and shadow. The second rule that we had was we tried to stick to the three-dimensional objects. We want to have a character, a guide that tours you through the gallery. When you look at Escher's artwork, there's always a strange insect or an animal or a person who guides you through the concept. And we thought that this very simple house-shaped object becomes the icon of the exhibition. Sometimes it becomes a bench, sometimes it becomes a room or a corridor. It represents space itself. It represents the house of Escher in a way. It sort of leads you through the entire gallery. I'm more like a mother trying to cook something, and you open the refrigerator and you find bits and pieces of things, and then you just come up with new ideas. So I wanted to design things really.
Do you have a bigger white surface?
Right, good, perfect.
Yes.
That's gonna look really cool.
Want the lighting mainly up above the house in the middle?
I think we should have like a grid so that we can control.
I'm really totally addicted to design. When I start sketching, when I see physical mock-ups, when I see my products in the stores, all these moments are so magical for me. I've been studying architecture for 6 years, and I really didn't understand what design was all about. I visited Milan, the design fair. Like architects were designing teacups and interior designers were designing cars, and everyone was very borderless. I felt that this was the place that I wanted to be. I start from sketches, like a stupid manga sketch. The simpler, the better, I guess. And then we move on directly into 3D modeling, whether if it's a small chewing gum or an architectural project, it's all the same to me.
Do you agree in principle with the famous Dieter Rams maxim, less but better?
It's not about minimalism, but the idea has to be very simple. Less is better, less is more. But in my case, an object has to be functional, but has to be fun, because the word fun is inside of function. I guess I'm not really interested in colors or aesthetics, but it's the story behind the object. An object has to be talkative. It has to tell an interesting story. I want to have my ideas to be like sushi or sashimi, I guess. Fresh. You just cut the raw fish and then you serve. You should not hold your ideas too long, or you should not love your ideas too much. The N02 recycle is made from household waste, and actually it is grinded into pellets and then it's melted into the shell. And what makes it even more interesting is that the chair itself can be recycled again, which means the head of the product, which means how it's made and how it's sold and how it's used, and the tail of the product, which means how it's thrown away, is kind of linked. The head is eating the tail, which creates this perfect circle, which I feel is the most interesting part of this project.
Then one more chair that I like is the one that has the blast in the back, because it is very heavy. It took like 6 or 7 people to carry on the stage. When it arrived in Milan, actually a few of the sticks were broken. So we had people from Japan flying to Milan. We rented a welding machine. Then we had to do the welding and the polishing on site here, and it was a lot of work for us. Nothing much has changed for myself. I just keep on designing things at the moment. I'm working on close to 400 projects, and every project is different. Like designing chocolates for Maison Objet, designing 50 manga chairs for Friedman Bender Gallery in New York. It's very different, but it's all design.
It's the small things, it's the normal things that really inspire me. And it's these small things that create special ideas and create big differences in the end. I'm Oki Sato. I'm the founder and chief designer of Nendo. My relationship with Fritz Hansen started in 2016 in Milan. I feel that there is a strong link between Danish design and Japanese design, which is the respect for natural materials such as wood and the craftsmanship that is related to that material. A wooden chair is all about joints. This is where all the strength is needed, and this defines the aesthetical values as well. We didn't want to have the joints to be like this. We wanted them to be almost pinching, but it needed the perfect balance, it needed structure as well, and it had to be the perfect chair. Fritz Hansen is the marriage between traditional and true craftsmanship and pure contemporary design.
That's an interesting question. No, I sleep like 5-6 hours a day, which is okay. Well, I think it's about noticing these small differences in everyday life. It's not about finding something totally different, but it's about noticing the small differences. It's like Japanese haiku in a way. It's that moment. You feel time, you feel nature, you feel history. In that moment, you try to share those moments with people. That's the way I design things. So even the cracks on the wall or something on the floor, even rain, whatever it is, they may become an inspiration for myself. I feel that it doesn't make sense talking about local or global because it's getting borderless and we know everything what's happening in the world. Someone thinks about something interesting, you notice that from the other side of the world. It doesn't really make sense to think about those differences, I guess. Everything's becoming flat and global, and it doesn't make sense to think about that, I guess. I think the greatest invention would be mitate. Mitate would be about, it's like creating characters. It's like symbolizing things. Like you have stones like this symbolizes water or sea. Big rocks, they symbolize islands and things like that. It's about minimizing things. It's about that kind of techniques or way of seeing things. I think that is one of the great values of Japanese culture. There is no favorite one. No father can choose the best child, I guess. Yeah.
My name is Oki Sato of Nendo. We are a design studio based in Tokyo, and we started in 2002. And we design many things like small objects, furniture, interior design, and architecture as well. The growing vases was originally designed for an exhibition in Milan for Design Week. It was an exhibition called Bohemian Rhapsody. It was a group exhibition of 3 designers, which was Fabio Novembre and Matthew Lanier and us. And we each designed a chandelier collaborating with Lasfit using glass. And the theme was cocoon. So it was not to design a functional object or a finished piece, but it was more about how to focus on the process of glass blowing itself.
How and where do you find inspiration as a designer?
I like to repeat things every day. I walk my dog the same route, I drink the same coffee. When you repeat things, you start to notice the slight differences in everyday life. I feel that these become idea sources. A project has to be environmentally friendly, it has to be user-friendly. It's one of the most important factors that you have to think about when you are a designer. One of the projects that I worked on quite recently was a zipper. We came up with 5 different zippers, crossing, or a zipper that you can open and close 3 different fabrics. There's so many space for new ideas, or even these simple and everyday objects. Making things better is design. We cannot work on 300 projects without our 3D printers in our studio. But technology is very dangerous at the same time. Technology allows you to create things beyond your imagination.
And then you start to lose the most important thing of design, which is the core idea. I think technology is about making things flat and smooth and making things perfect. And what makes people interesting is that people are not perfect. Perfection makes things boring in the end. So I think the next step for technology is how to make them not smart, but stupid in the end. Maybe making pleasant mistakes. That is a capsule toy figure, which is kind of famous. It's kind of popular in Japan. Capsule contains a small figure inside. So you have to make it by yourself.
Yeah. So it's a toy that encourages a child to be a designer?
In a way, yes. Quite recently, we made a picture book for children as well.
Okay.
And the main character is a mug cup. So it's about explaining what a handle is, or what the rim is, or how to see things from a different point of view. And then the cup starts to think, how can we stir the coffee in the mug
cup's
cup?
Self-aware. Very dangerous.
I must say that this chair is designed for everyday life, made of everyday household plastics, which all makes sense. It's durable, it's sustainable, it's affordable, and it's stackable, which means it's a nice chair. And what we did was, instead of taking the glass off after blowing through the steel pipe, what I thought was to leave the steel pipe and the glass together as if it was frozen at that moment of glass blowing. And then I put the branches, I put some more pipes on and lacquered it so it became like flowers and branches, so that the glass part would seem like a vase almost. And it sort of represented the way like the bulb of the plants gets nutrition from the plants, from like air and water and sunlight. It sort of had a story like that as well. When the glass blowers blow the pipe, it's much thicker. The pipe is much thicker. But I wanted them to challenge in like a straw almost, in this thickness, if they can blow. And that was the challenge, I guess, to have the glass blowers blowing in a very thin pipe. And it was very interesting as well, and I think they did a great job as well. Well, the beginning of the project was quite interesting because we did not start from models or renderings, but a single sheet of paper. We had a single fold on the paper, and basically that was it. The fold finally ended up as the middle crease of the shell, which creates the lumbar support, and also it creates the link between the horizontal tabletops as well. Because when you see the soft chairs with the sharp tables, they do not match. But because of this single fold, I believe that it creates a link and a uniformity in the space.
The book maintains that minimal aesthetic, but with that whimsical, playful nature. I think it's brilliant.
So it's always about solving problems in a very pleasant way, in a fun way.
You bring a lot of emotion into what you do.
So, of course, function is important, but in the end, it's all about emotions, and you're definitely right.
You have a very close working relationship with the fashion legend Issey Miyake, yes. One of the most incredible designers ever to grace the planet. How did that come about?
He said that there was so much paper thrown away, and I want you to design a chair for me. And I was in a total panic. I just received the roll of thrown away paper from the factory, and then I cut and peeled, and in the end it became something like a chair. I told Mr. Miyake that this is not finished. I have to complete this. And he said that, no, you have to stop here. When you feel that it's completed, it's done, it's finished. That opened up a lot of doors for myself, a lot of freedom for me. Sometimes an idea for a mobile phone ends up for an interior design, or an idea for architecture ends up as a chair. Designers should
go with the flow in the end.
Would you have any advice for the designers of the future?
Choose the first idea. You start from a single idea, you think, maybe this is better, or I can make it better this way, and then you go all the way and you end up in the first idea. So when you get lost in a project, choose the first one, because it's the correct one. The big challenge of the process of this chair was the material itself, which was using recycled polypropylene. It was much rigid than we expected, having less flexibility, which meant that we needed more material on the joints, less material for the flex of the seat, and we wanted less material on the edges to give this lightness and poetry to the design. Have these wooden trays called obon. It could be used as a table as well. It's somewhere in between, and I think I was kind of inspired by that kind of way of using pieces of furniture in everyday life. The collaboration with Fritz Hansen was fantastic. The fact that Fritz Hansen has a lot of knowledge about functional stackable chairs really helped us a lot, because trying to design a really efficient but warm and comfortable chair is very difficult and challenging. And I think the collaboration between Nendo and Fritz Hansen was very smooth.